Hey, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. Now listen, you might see the title, you might see the overexposed, glistening bald head thumbnail and believe that I am not excited for James Gunn's Superman. Not excited for what seems to be WB's last chance to prove that DC characters outside Batman can bring in the audience, bring in the cash, bring in the passion. And that is not fucking true. I am very excited, man. In fact, in the era where I find it hard to get excited about the things that I used to cast waves of hype to everyone about, Superman is a superhero project that makes me feel connected to that inner child who wanted nothing more than to believe someone as kind, as caring, as good as Superman could exist. A lot of you have asked for my thoughts on the trailer, on the film, as someone who has begged and pleaded for WB to make a solo Superman movie for over a decade now, so I figured I'd use this quick little ramble to talk about my hopes as well as my fears for James Gunn Superman, for what very well might be DC's last chance to make people look up and want to believe that men can fly. But before we continue our endless search for a better tomorrow, I want to talk to you about a new official DC game that just released on iOS, Google Play, and PC. DC Dark Legion. Adapted from Scott Snyder's Dark Knight's Metal series, embark on an epic battle through the multiverse from the bright skies of Metropolis to the shadows of Arkham Asylum, embody the champions of the DC universe, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Jonkler, and over 50 playable heroes and villains with more than 200 DC legends featured in the story, including my boy, my son, my Jason Peter Crowbar Todd. All brilliantly rendered with a stunning comic book inspired art style that showcases the super dope character designs, fighting moves, and comic book world. DC Dark Legion is a strategy game where you collect and train DC champions. With RPG inspired features, you can customize your Batcave, build shelters to help the struggling civilians, and try your damnedest to save the DC multiverse, all within a clean, clear, and intuitive UI that makes it easy to pick up anytime, anywhere. Guess what, my guy? They even brought back Roger Craig Smith.
It's about justice.
As Bruce Wayne and the Batman who laughs. This is a new home base for DC fans. Not only can you fight alongside others, but you can engage in PvP with players around the globe. Best part is that it's entirely free to play. Almost all champions released at launch can be unlocked for free. What are you waiting for? The Batman who laughs to tear apart your entire world and brutally murder everyone you love with a smile? Use my gift code DCDL999 in the description to get plenty of resources and 3 free character pulls. I'll see you in the cave, soldier. Thanks, guys. Okay. Let Superman be a Superman movie. This is the big worry, the thing that will make or break the film for me. Everything we've seen so far, to me at least, feels like the most Superman we've had on the big screen since Returns. It has the absolute correct tone, the cast looks wonderful, and I don't doubt that James will manage to bring a truckload of heart and charm to a character that WB, at least the film department of WB, hasn't known what to do with since 2013. If you've seen Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, you know that Rachel is about to be a god-tier goddess at playing Lois Lane.
It's those fucking losers at the bar. Standing there, waiting for me to bomb. It's midnight on a Tuesday, and the highlight of their evening is the possibility of seeing a chick fail.
And Nicholas Hoult is such a brilliant actor that there's no way his Lex isn't captivating. And David Corenswet not only has the innate screen presence to make you believe in his authority, but perhaps most importantly, clearly contains the aw shucks ma vibes that Clark has been missing for far too long. Plus, holy fuck knuckle, fucking Krypto. All my gun gooning aside, I really don't need to see Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, and Justice League International in the first solo Superman movie. I don't need it, but I get it. You need to establish the universe outside Metropolis. You need to start a franchise. You need to blah blah blah.
There'll be none of it.
And I know all those characters will be great. I'm sure Metamorpho and the gang will be scene stealers because Gunn loves the outsiders, the more niche, the less heard of comic book characters. He loves injecting them with a shit ton of heart. I'm not saying any of these guys will be bad and take away from the film, but even if they do exist to be a clear statement on postmodern day superheroism, I mean, look at their Maxwell Lord branded leather outfits, their corporate privatized vibe. Even if their purpose is to be a contrast to Clark Kent, a metaphor on how most popular caped media media as a postmodern parody or edgy, cynical deconstruction, whereas Clark is the embodiment of pure kindness, the S on his chest, the embodiment of old-fashioned sincerity. Even with all that, I'm just not sure I want it.
You're a fucking moron.
Because what I want is simply a story about Clark Kent, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor. James has said that the movie very much is that, but still. Outside the overdone easy jabs I can make to the Snyder movies, the thing that bothered me the most was how much focus we lost on Clark Kent as soon as the wider DC universe came into the picture. Lois Lane in Man of Steel, she had spunk, she had a character, she felt like a human being with her own set of wants, needs, and desires, but by the end of the DCEU, for me, Amy Adams was entirely wasted, relegated to a mourning widow, just as Clark was relegated to a statued martyr who meant more in his death than he ever did in life.
I failed him. Life.
I don't want that to happen again, please. I need Clark and Lois to be the power couple that they are in the comics. I need both of them to be the heart and soul of the DC universe. I need James's Superman to be what the Batman was for Bruce Wayne, a character study filled with wonderful supporting characters that never lost its focus on making the audience so attached, making them see the world through the eyes of one of the largest fictional legends ever created. I want Superman to be about Clark Kent and his love for Lois, his inconceivable love of us, his unwavering kindness towards us even when we don't deserve it. I don't know about the look, man, or at least the coloring. This has been talked about a lot, but I too agree there's something off about the way the film is looking. Of course you will and will always have angry Snyder Clan members, not to be confused with healthy Snyder fans, who are always going to call this movie an SNL skit porn parody because it's not Henry Cavill bulging out of his costume, lubed up in hair gel, being forced to dial down his innate charm and stand there flexing the same 3 forehead wrinkle muscles like he has a giant Kryptonian spear rammed straight up his ass. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's a unique look for sure from the 2 minutes of footage we've seen. And I do think Henry Bram is a good DP. I think Guardians 2 and the Suicide Squad are shot perfectly in the sense that the visual style and rhythm is all a part of Gunn's expression. The constant, super compact red camera spinning around the misfits and outlaws works wonders for grounding a movie with a giant fucking starfish or an Adam Warlock forehead flying straight towards you. But this kind of look for Superman, I don't know, I'm not sure, and I can't criticize a director's vision for how he wants his movie to look. I can just say that personally, maybe I was expecting something a little more beautiful and composed and a lot less moving and kinetic. And I love the idea of staying this close to Clark while he flies. I love the idea of being very intimate with him, but something about the visuals just feels off to me. It doesn't help that Henry Bram has seemingly carried over his color grading preferences from The Flash, which, like I said in that video, had an idea of where to place the camera and what to do with it, but was colored like a stale piece of moldy bread.
Holy God, what are you showing me? Come on! Open your eyes!
If I were in charge of $1 billion movie trying to revamp the love of a gazillion-dollar character, I would personally dial up the orange, dial up the color, and take down the blue cast. Hashtag get rid of the blue. But what do I fucking know? My movie looks like you ran French New Wave and German Expressionism through a fucking dirty dishwasher that just got diagnosed with fucking Parkinson's. Jesus, Jason soon. And the thing is, I know Gunn can pull the kind of image I was hoping for off. He's done it again and again. Him and Henry Bram have done it again and again. But yeah, I just really hope the first real DCU movie looks half as good as what the actual ongoing other DC connected universe looks like. I don't want this universe to start off with a most likely great heartfelt script but standard comic book movie visuals that we've all grown so very, very, very tired of.
You're in so much pain, huh? I am. Yeah.
But on the flip side, I'm 90% sure we might finally get back sexy Lexi, a badass Lex Luthor. Do you know the weakest part of every single Superman movie I enjoy is? Lex fucking Luthor.
Lex Luthor!
Gene Hackman, rest in peace, was a brilliant actor entirely capable of bringing dimension depth to the tortured, bald, bad boy genius, yet the writing wasn't there. It did not try to be there. Lex in the Christopher Reeves films was very much a mustache, or in this case, shitty wig twirling egomaniac who was obsessed with capital real estate land.
Costa del Lex, Lutherville, Marina del Lex.
He played the role with enough charm and panache that it's impossible to call his Lex boring, to call him not entertaining, but across all 4 fucking movies, we never got the depth nor the understanding that I think is essential to crafting an intimidating Lex Luthor. It felt like the consequence to having such a generational character-defining Superman was having the birth of a now tired trope where a great actor chews the scenery as a two-dimensional villain. And yeah, I like Returns more than most, but Frank Underwood was stuck playing the same caricature as Hackman.
Tonight.
Why?
Land.
And listen, I'm for sure biased. As a kid who grew up loving Smallville so much that at one point in time, instead of doing my homework, I decided to remember each and every episode name and number.
You're a fucking moron.
Michael Rosenbaum's Lex is the top of the mountain, not just because he brought this underlying hurt and pain to every single brilliant monologue, not just because one of the best directed episodes of superhero TV focus entirely on Lex's deeply dark, repressed memories.
What have you done?
Traumatic, gut-wrenching flashes of Lex taking the blame for his loving mother smothering his baby brother just so this innocent child would not have to suffer the prince's training, the child's torment of Lex's father.
She loved him. Loved him so much she couldn't bear the thought of subjecting him to your particular brand of parenting.
Fuck. Look at these shots. Look at this. Look at this. God, what a masterpiece. If you haven't seen Smallville, just watch Memoria, Season 3, Episode 19. Smallville Lex is widely considered the best Lex, partly because he was so deeply intertwined with Clark.
Trust me, Clark. Our friendship is going to be the stuff of legend.
And to be honest, I'm always somewhat disappointed when I go to read a Lex story and all that's there between him and Clark, Luthor and Superman is hatred, fear, a lack of understanding of each other. Some comics like Birthright, Secret Origin show that they once knew each other in Smallville, but it's almost like Lex was always evil, always resentful, always a judgmental, better-than-thou asshole out of his own insecurity. And don't get me wrong, I know my dissatisfaction comes from the fact that my first in-depth exposure to the character was seeing the great tragedy of a young man who desperately needed trust and love, being let down by his only friend who is destined to become the world's savior.
It's my birthright! After all my sacrifices, after all the pain, I finally understand. Everything led me to this moment. I'm sorry, Clark.
I know that's not how it usually goes, and I know James Gunn most likely won't give us brothers lovers to enemies, but just from the 22 seconds of footage we've seen of Nick Holt's take on the character, just from the behind-the-scenes interviews where James talks about how he wanted Lex to be scary with his brilliance akin to All-Star Superman, I think we might finally get to see a Lex Luthor on the big screen that has the darkness and the pathos behind him that I've been waiting for. That one shot of him crying, seething as a child of war, screams out for Superman, screams out for an all-powerful being to rescue him, says 1,000 words. Why don't they want my help? How can they trust someone that powerful? How come I spent my entire life painfully, miserably shaping myself into someone who is powerful, someone who can provide, someone who never needs to beg, never needs to wish for help again, and this alien can show up one day and have everything I've worked for? How can the people love him, hope for him, and not me? No joke, I'm doing my HiTop thing with that last pretentious paragraph, but dude, you can see it all there in his face. It's brilliant acting, and if that's the kind of performance we are going to get across the 2+ hours, I'm so ready.
Any villains who inspired your performance? Lex Luthor inspired the performance?
I think much like Lois Lane and her importance to making a soulful Superman adaptation, which I've talked about ad nauseum, Lex Luthor is just as important. You need to feel just as much for him as you do for Clark, and whether that feeling is hatred, sadness, or longing for him to use his intelligence and willpower for good, you need to want him to be good. It's why this line at the end of All-Star Superman hits so hard.
If it wasn't for you, I could have saved the world.
If it had mattered to you, Luthor, you could have saved the world years ago.
You're right.
It's why the Azzarello Luthor book is devastating by the end of its insane edge tragedy. It's why Smallville worked. It's why I even think Jesse Eisenberg's zany performance works to some degree.
No man in the sky intervened when I was a boy to deliver me from Daddy's fist and abominations.
Because his entire motive is based around an ideology that most of us share.
I figured out way back. God is all-powerful. He cannot be all good.
Why am I suffering when there is a Superman? Why do I have to work so hard to even function, let alone succeed, when someone can be born into power, born into greatness? Why am I not loved when he is? My hope is that we get that. My fear is that he will be sidelined for the world building, for establishing, for ease. But if I had to guess, I think Gunn excels in characters fueled and tormented by past trauma. I hope he and Hoult Lex will be one for the ages. And plus, if I had to guess again, the villain, the physical threat at least, will be a creation of Lex's, a creation born out of his pain, a twisted version of Superman. Call him Bizarro, call him Ultraman, call him this guy in a mask because he will also be played by David Corenswet, unless he's played by like a Nightmare Universe bloodthirsty Cavill frying fucks left and right. But I doubt that. It's gonna be David under there. And I'm not the only guy who thinks this, and that's for a reason. Ultra Bizarro Man is going to be a metaphor, I wager. He's going to be a Homelander type, a man of postmodern steel, made in a lab by Lex and possibly the government out of spite. Man must own a Superman, control a badass god without any of the humanity that Clark has, much like the mandated leather jacket wearing Lord League I mentioned earlier. James is making a statement about the current state of superhero cinema and our collective cynicism when it comes to the genre. Perhaps the point is that James Gunn himself shares my greatest fear for Superman. Perhaps the true question at the end of this is, can we even still believe? Is there a place in modern superhero cinema for a Krypto the super dog? Can audiences ignore their innate skepticism of camp and get on board with the traditional Clark Kent? Someone who is just good because he wants to be, someone who dresses up in bright red and blue, trunks and all, not because it's his destiny to save anyone, but because he wants to use his godlike powers not to fight but to heal? Is there a place where kindness isn't considered cringe, a place where sincerity is admirable? Does that even exist within our modern culture? Is it an outdated notion or needed more than ever? When everything to us, to you and to me, is a fucking easily digestible TikTok, when our attention is garnered through outrage, disagreement, and apathy, all to get a click. Look at this fucking video called My Fears, My Worries, when most of it is an optimistic love letter to the icon. I'm not preaching down, man. I'm in the crowd of cynics neck and neck with the brain-rotted consumers. We click, engage, and respond to indifference. We relate to anger, indulge struggle, yet we shun compassion. Half of us chuckle fucks out there sitting in the audience don't even realize that the superheroes we munch our popcorn to, those characters who give everything, created by people who got nothing, would be against our mindset, against our hatred. Yet, as it always has and always will, negativity breeds interest and compassion births contempt. I don't mean to go full philosophy major dropout on you. I didn't even go to college, couldn't fucking afford it. Point is, WB is betting the water tower on a seemingly very traditional Superman movie that believes we will back kindness, that believes we as a culture in our current climate are even capable of it. My worry is that someone like Clark Kent is no longer someone who could exist in our world full of judgmental indifference. Room for him in a world where striving for a better one is pretentious. Is there a place for a Superman who is kind in a world where kindness is somehow old-fashioned? Seems to be the question the film wants to ask, and I can't answer that. But my greatest hope is that James and the storytellers behind Superman find a way to answer that question with some kind of depth and truth. And if they somehow do, will we ever be able to face that? Kindness or cringe, apathy or empathy, we are all in search of that same idealistic dream, right? The dream of a tomorrow that is better. The foundational dream of this constantly evolving character that maybe should not be forced to change for us. Maybe it's time we changed for him. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I got carried away at the end there. This was fun. Nice little quick fun one to do. I hope some of it resonated with you, but if not, you know, fuck me sideways and fucking throw me out the door. Don't even cook me breakfast. But anyway, Jason updates very, very soon. I know I've been saying that. You can read on the latest Indiegogo page. There's been a lot going on, but I'm working on it every time I'm not working on a video to get out of the crippling debt that making a movie puts you in. So anyways, much love. Bye.